Good morning. Good morning. This is Valerie Leonard. I am the founder of nonprofit Utopia. I want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning. As you may or may not know, we are focusing on marketing for the month of November. We have, for the past 3 weeks, been looking at topics in marketing. We started off focusing on market strategy. We also talked about social media strategy and all that good stuff. And today we're going to focus on content marketing as a strategy. And all of this should be in alignment with your marketing strategy, which should be also in alignment with your strategic plan. All right. And before we get started, I just want to say hello and encourage you to post any of your comments or questions here in the chat box. I also would love for you to, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, where you're from, what marketing issues you've had, what content marketing strategies you've had, any questions that you have on what we're about to present. And again, I will follow up after the presentation. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get started. All right, as I indicated before, we're going to be talking about content marketing today, and we're going to be focusing on strategy. And by the time you get done with this, you'll have a really clear direction as to how you can try this at home. And before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about nonprofit Utopia. We're the ideal community for emerging nonprofit leaders, and that could be emerging nonprofit leaders of any age. We're looking for people who are just starting their organizations. We're looking for career changers who might be new to supervision or new to leadership. Whatever your age, whatever your title, we have something for you if you are an emerging leader. We've created a safe environment in which our members can innovate and share lessons learned, as well as some of the concerns they might feel on a day-to-day basis. Our mission is to develop the next generation of ethical nonprofit leaders, and we do that through professional development. And this live stream is one of those ways. We provide online courses, we also do webinars, we do in person events when we're not dealing with COVID-19, as well as courses, and we have books as well. Basically, we're trying to make sure that you have the tools that you need in order to be an effective leader and to guide your organization to sustainability. And our vision is to train the next generation of ethical nonprofit leaders. We want to impact the local as well as the international nonprofit sector. And we're going to do this by training up to 50,000 leaders between now and 2033. And a little bit about myself, I've been working in consulting since about 2003. I used to run an organization on Chicago's West Side. We used to deal with community grants. So I have significant experience in grant making as well as strategic planning. I teach courses at the college level at UIC, teaching courses in nonprofit management, as well as the college level with Roosevelt University, teaching courses in social enterprise. I'm the host of Blog Talk Radio, nonprofit Utopia blog talk show. And obviously, I'm the host of this live stream we have. So last time we were together, we had technical difficulties. And in fact, we're going to come together again on Friday to make sure that we can share with you lessons learned from telling stories. But the week before that, we focused on SEO. So we talked about what search engine optimization is, why it's important, how website crawlers work and how to use them to your advantage. And we tried not to get so into the weeds of the technology, but we felt it was important for you to understand how the technology works so that you as a marketer or you as an executive director can understand how what you post on social media or what you post on your website gets interpreted so that you can make sure that what you post is seen. So we also focused on how to create content that lets your content be found by your ideal target, how to create a positive user experience on your website. We also went into how to build online authority and how to stand out from the crowd and improve your rankings. And if you missed it, you can go to our YouTube page and you will find videos on this as well as a number of other topics. You got about 75 to 80 I'm sorry, 85 videos to choose from. All right, so today we're going to be focused on content marketing. And as you know, that is an essential part of any nonprofit marketing plan, and it helps you build brand authority, helps you build relationships, educate your stakeholders, and the ultimate goal is to enlist people into your cause, either as a volunteer, as a board member, or someone who can be a partner or who can actually donate. So we're going to show you an overview of what content marketing is, how it's similar and how it's different from social media marketing, how to make the business case for your content marketing. You know, all too often we do our content marketing in a silo, separate and apart from our business planning, separate and apart from our marketing plans, separate and apart from our strategic plans. We're also going to show you how to do a content calendar and how to develop your own content marketing strategy. And ideally, we can keep it to one page. Isn't that wonderful? So, what is exactly content marketing? A content marketing strategy describes how you plan to attract and engage your target customers with content. And you're going to have to actually segment these customers. So you have to get to be real skilled at, separating, say for example, your funders, you might speak to them differently than clients, differently from people who are in your local community and differently from your partner. So learning how to hone those messages. And content marketing usually includes an analysis of your customers, again, your funders, clients, and stakeholders, the types of information that they'll need to look for solutions for the problems that they have. And ideally, you want to position your organization as the answer to their problems, right? You also want to be able to communicate the business goals and the role your content will play in supporting those goals and your plans for building and distributing content given your available resources. So a one person shop will have a different plan. Their plan will be quite, not quite as comprehensive as, say, a large institution with thousands of employees. So, why is content marketing important? It provides the why you're doing the content marketing and for whom. And actually, you need to make sure that it's in congruence or in alignment with your marketing strategy. And it helps you focus the messages to your various segments. And if it's executed correctly, it's going to give you a significant return on the investment. So, investment in terms of time and investment in terms of dollars and any other resources. So we'll first cover what's the difference between social media marketing and content marketing. We tend to lump them all the same. They're very similar, but there are some slight differences, and we'll share three of them with you. And we got this from Toby Murdoch. He is with the Content Marketing Institute. So the first difference between social media marketing and content marketing is the center of gravity. That is where the focus is. So, for example, in social media marketing, the primary focus of the marketing activity is located within the networks themselves. All right, so you're going to keep all of that activity focused on Facebook, Twitter, etc. But content marketing, on the other hand, looks at the big picture, right? And it's a brand website for the most part. So it could be a branded URL, for example, americanexpress.com, or it could be a smaller brand for American Express, like their well, open forum. So social networks are used primarily as a distributor of the links, right? So it's basically feeding to the website when you're talking about content marketing. Again, it's the big picture. And then when we look at the types of content, for example, with social media, the content is built to fit the context of the social platform. So for Twitter, obviously, you have to use 140 characters. It may be up to 250 now. I'm not quite sure what the limit is, but you got to make sure that your message is shrunk to fit the medium that you're working with, right? And then two, you also have to be cognizant of who is hanging out on these various platforms. So your messaging, at least the way you send your messages, is going to vary too based on who hangs out there. So here, the brands model their behavior after that of the individuals who are actually using those networks. On the other hand, when we look at content marketing, the context of the websites permit much longer forms of content. In fact, you're actually rewarded for having long stories on your website. And when I say rewarded, you're rewarded by Google. They begin to look at your website as an authority, assuming that your content is relevant, right? So brands can publish blog posts, videos, infographics, and ebooks. And these are just a few examples. And again, here the brands model their behavior after that of media publishers. So you want to make yourself attractive to your ideal market. And then a third difference is the objectives. So when we look at social media marketing, it's used basically, but not always, but more often than not, is used for brand awareness and generating activity and discussion around your brand. Remember that word engagement. Engagement is a two-way street. It's not just posting, but it's eliciting response from the people who read it. And ideally, these are your ideal customers, and then you respond back. Secondly, it's used for customer retention and satisfaction. Brands can use social channels as an open forum for direct dialogues with customers, often around issues or questions that consumers have. And the same for nonprofits. It's a really good way to strike up relationships. And if there are any perceived problems with your organization's brand, services, or their products, you can usually nip it in the bud by being proactive in your engagement. So if someone raises an issue, a negative issue on social media, you can respond immediately in real time, and then others can see how you have resolved that issue. And then that also positions your organization as being a responsive brand, right? On the other hand, when we look at content marketing, the center of gravity, and again, that's the focus for content marketing, is a brand website again. And it's also, in terms of the objective, is usually in, meant to build relationships. I'm sorry I didn't update that particular square, but it's not only looking at awareness, but you're actually going deeper in your relationships. You want engagement, but your engagement will usually be after a longer article or a video, and it allows you to build even stronger engagement, stronger relationships. So when you get started, you need to think about ways that you can put your content marketing strategy on one page. And remember, the source of your marketing strategy is going to be your marketing plan, and it's also going to be information that you get from being engaged with your clients and other stakeholders. So it's people within your organization as well as stakeholders who are not within your organization. All right, so one of the first things you want to do is focus on what the organization is going to need to accomplish over the next year. You need to know your organization's growth strategy. You need to know your organization's revenue targets as a percentage or dollar figure over the past year. And then you also need to know what your profit targets are. So in nonprofit, we don't really call it profit, but you need to know how much money in excess of your expenses you're going to target. And again, you want to do that as a percentage or monetary amount over the last year. And then you want to know how growth is going to be achieved. For example, is it going to be achieved through a new product launch if you're into social enterprise, or do you want to do a new program launch where you might be able to charge fee for services, or even just the revenue you get from launching a new program, through grants? Will the growth be through some sale of a product to existing customers? Are you going to expand into a new market? Are you going to merge with another organization? Are you going to acquire new clients? Are you going to increase your market share in your local community? So you want to be able to have a real firm grasp as to how you're going to achieve that growth. And you really need to understand the environment in which you're operating so that you can make um, pretty accurate guesses. And then you need to look at other factors or criteria that are important to your organization's growth. And don't forget to look at things that might be challenging, that could prevent you from growing, and then look at ways that you might have to respond accordingly. So after that, you need to obviously, as with everything that we have discussed today, set goals and objectives. So one question you might ask as you develop your goals: how will progress toward objectives be measured quantitatively? And then for objectives, what qualitative results must the company or must the organization accomplish over the next year? And then you also have to remember that this should not be done in a silo. This is a team effort, and if you have more than one function or more than one program in your organization, it needs to be a team that consists of people like the fundraisers, the people who are actually working on the program, the people who are working in finance, because they're going to hold the purse strings, right? So you want to work with mid-level marketing, sales, and product leaders to sketch a content marketing plan. And again, even though finance people are not marketers per se, they will have a significant bearing on how much money you can spend. And then you need to also ask yourself, how will content marketing help the organization achieve its goals? And then you might find some ideas that content marketing can support and others that content marketing can't support. So, content marketing is not the end all, it's not the be all. That's going to be dependent on what your goals and objectives are, what it is you're trying to market, your organization's capacity in terms of time and budget for these efforts. So, what content marketing can support should be in your plan as strategies and metrics. So, when we look at strategies, the question is, what will the content marketing function deliver qualitatively during the next year? So, your content marketing can be used to introduce a new program or can supplement a new program, product, or service. It can also be used to increase awareness of issues in your specific sector. It can also be used to increase issues, you know, for your organization and, demonstrate how your organization is prepared to address those issues, increase awareness of the organization itself and some of your achievements. And also, it can be used to increase awareness for your programs and services. Another way you can use content marketing is to differentiate your organization, programs, and services in the marketplace. So, what makes your organization uniquely qualified to solve the problems that you're trying to solve? What are your capabilities? You can also use content marketing to create a better stakeholder experience. For example, you want to make sure that anyone who comes to your website finds what it is they're looking for. So, one way to have a positive experience is to make sure that it's easy to navigate. Another way to have a better stakeholders experience is to make sure that you have content that will actually address the problems that they need help with. You want to be able to offer social proof. So the social proof would be those stories that you collect from people who have actually used your programs and services, as well as testimonials, their pictures. So you want to be able to show that there are real people who are using these services. They have gotten value and they're willing to share the value that they've gotten with other people and encourage others to come your way. And then a very important thing for funders is you want to be able to use your content marketing strategy in order to demonstrate impact. So sometimes you might want to use an infographic that'll demonstrate impact. And when we talk about infographics, we're talking about pictures that might have statistics that tell a story of how many people you were able to reach and how their lives were changed. And that's not the only way to demonstrate impact. That's just an example. You also want to make sure that your one-page plan includes metrics. And basically, metrics are, how your organization going to measure the achievement of your strategy. So if your strategies are in fact working, you should see some increases, right? You should see an increase in traffic. You should see things like an increase in SEO ranking. If you're not on the front page of ranking on certain keywords, over time, you would expect to see yourself on the front pages if you're making the proper adjustments. If your content strategy is working, ideally you'll be able to show that it has generated an increase in the number of followers or supporters. It has produced a certain amount of revenue. Why? Because you can get a sense for how some of those pages that you have converted to actual funders. So you can look at your donor pages, for example, or donation pages, I'm sorry. And then once you develop your plan, you want to make sure before you get too far that you run your plan by key decision makers. So this could be people like the CEO of your organization, your program managers, your CFO. They're going to be looking at things like how much is it costing them or costing the organization in order to implement this plan as written. They're going to be looking at the revenue that it can generate, how many funders it might attract, how many individual donors it might attract. They're going to be looking at the return on investment. For every dollar that they generate, for every dollar that you spend on content marketing, how much is it bringing back into the organization? And you should be prepared to have those kinds of estimates. And then you also want to engage the people who are actually creating the content. So the people who are creating the various memes, who are creating the various posts, you want to make sure that they're all working from the same content marketing strategy. So you want to make sure that you keep your content marketing strategy down to one page so that increases the likelihood of people who who are actually doing the creative are actually referring to it every day. All right, so now we're going to go into one page plan, the one page plan. I was not able to get everything on one slide, but just know that these next few slides should be sections of a one page plan for your content marketing strategy. So you start off with your objectives, and your objectives could be things like increase revenue from product X over the next 12 months. So if you're in nonprofit, that could be increase revenue from say your uh, Giving Tuesday. So your Giving Tuesday campaign by the year end. You could also have an objective of positioning a disruptive new product or program or service as a viable alternative to, another nonprofit organization. So if your organization has an innovative way of doing things, right? You have something that other people may be doing it, but you do it a different way that's more efficient, more impactful, more creative, more keeping up with, say, the millennials versus baby boomers and all that good stuff. You want to be able to use your content marketing strategy to position your organization, your product or service as the innovator on the block, so to speak. And then we look at our goals. And I got this from George, eh, we'll just say the Content Marketing Institute. I can't pronounce his last name. But the goals would be something like, and you'll have your own goals, but it could be increase fundraising revenue by X percent to X percent in 2021. Or it could be things like build funder awareness to X percent. It could be things like build awareness in the community. It could be build awareness to potential partners. Whatever your goals are, it could be actually to increase, to support a overall goal of increasing the number of partnerships that you engage in, or increase the number of volunteers. And if there's some way that you can track that your content strategy is responsible for contributing to the achievement of that goal, then make sure you do that. And after that, you want to include your strategy. For example, your strategy might be, or this is one strategy, become the best source of information on issues impacting your sector, stakeholder problem, or program service category. So, again, part of your goal might be to be the go to organization or become a thought leader on an issue. And organizations that become thought leaders tend to attract resources much more so than those that are not thought leaders, because they become top of mind to funders, they become top of mind to elected officials, they become top of mind to other organizations that are up and coming. And then most importantly, they become top of mind to people, who have the problems that you can solve so you can get more clients, right? So you also want to have a strategy of delivering useful information and thought-provoking insights. And when we talk about useful information, the information needs to be useful to people who are within your ideal target. So that could be useful to funders, useful to clients, useful to potential partners. All right, you want to be able to educate stakeholders. So, that could be another strategy. So, one way you can educate them is show them how to address key nonprofit sector challenges. So, if your organization, for example, has figured out a way to weather the storm for COVID-19, this is an excellent opportunity to use your content marketing strategy to write about your experiences or share videos on those experiences, share interviews on those experiences. Another way you can educate stakeholders is to show them how to generate revenue, reduce expenses, and improve user experiences. And then that way you begin to deepen your relationships with other organizations in the community. And if your organization is in a position to help other organizations strengthen their capacity, then the whole sector within your community as a whole begins to improve. And then section 4, you need to make sure that you can measure it. So some metrics might be those things that can measure whether or not you're able to increase website traffic by X percentage over the last year. You were able to convert X percentage of website users. And when we talk about converting them, we're talking about people uh, who have actually done something that you wanted them to do. So it could be people who have actually donated through your donate page. It could be people who have actually signed up to volunteer for a major project. All right. It could be people who have actually signed up to participate in your programs. It could be people who have actually bought a fundraising ticket, a ticket to one of your fundraisers. Another metric is to add to the sales pipeline X number of marketing qualified leads per year, including Y million in potential deals. So you can convert this to nonprofit language. So you might want to increase your grants pipeline, right? To X number of marketing qualified leads per year. So these are organizations that you've already vetted, you've already looked at what it is that they're willing to fund, and you see that there's some alignment with your organization, and you want to be able to generate Y number of dollars in terms of grants and contracts from these particular sources. Or your metrics could be, just to generate X number of dollars, regardless of the source. And section 5 is focusing on targets and value propositions. So you want to make sure that this section of your content marketing strategy includes who your target is, and you want to be able to summarize your personas. So remember, we talked last week about stakeholder personas. You want to be able to segment your supporters, and these could be funders, these could be clients, these could be board members, anybody who has a stake in your organization. You want to bring more people like that in, or you want to make sure that you keep them engaged and not lose them. So you want to be able to create a persona for each of those people. And we have a video on that. Just go to YouTube and check out last week's video. All right. So you want to be able to describe who these people are, within 2 or 3 sentences right here. But your actual persona might go for a full page in terms of describing who these people are, their demographic profile, what their habits are, what their thought processes are. But here you just want to put a snapshot. All right, so that's who you serve. And then you want to put in that section what's in it for them. What's the value you're creating for them, right? So when they read your content on the website, does it make their job easier? Does it help them reach their goals and aspirations? Does it help ease their pain? Does it help solve their problem? If it can do all of those things and your content is an answer to that, then you have created value, and they will keep coming back. And at some point, they may donate to the organization. They may volunteer for the organization. They may become a board member and all of that good stuff. But you have to create value and let them know that this is an organization worth supporting, and your content marketing strategy can do that. So, section 6 is the content itself. And again, we're trying to do this all on one page. We want to be able to summarize all of this on one page. So, you want to look at your serving sizes and your frequencies, right? So, you want to look at how often you're going to communicate with people. You want to look at, how long it's going to be in terms of words, and then you also want to, get a, um, I guess you want the word content and you want the time. So that's what we mean when we talk about the serving sizes. But when we talk about frequency, we want to talk about how often we do it. Are we going to do it daily? Are we going to do it monthly? Are we going to do it once a year? Are we going to do it monthly for 6 months and all that good stuff? So you got to think of all of that when you do your content calendar, right? So in this example, we have a chart that on the first column, it has the time to get your message across, it has the number of words maximum, and it also has the media through which you will communicate this message. So in this first case, you might have 7 seconds, 23 words, and this might be communicated through a headline on your blog. It could be communicated through a tweet, through a sound bite on your podcast or video. It could also be through a cartoon, and you might consider doing this daily. Another example is 2 minutes, and you want to do this twice a week, 400 words, and this could be on a web page, it could be on a blog, it could be a news release, it could be through a video, or it could be through an infographic. And then another example is, you might want to spend 5 minutes a month, so this will be something that takes the reader or the person who listens to the video 5 minutes. So you want to take 5 minutes of their time and you want to do it in no more than 1,000 words. And this could be through a magazine article that you had placed. It could be through articles on your blog. It could be through articles that people contribute to your blog. It could be through a long video. And then finally, another example is once a quarter, you might want to spend 20 minutes of your visitor's time. And this might be using 4,000 words or more. And this could be through a white paper, application note, ebook, a speech, or a webinar. And this type of content, at the bottom, this positions your organization as the expert on issues in the nonprofit sector. And then, funders begin to come to you, elected officials start coming to you, other organizations start coming to you. All right, so here is an example of a content calendar. And different people have different ways of doing this, but what you want to start off with is your goals and objectives, right? So after you've gone through the goals and objectives and all the processes that we just described, you then want to plot this out, on a monthly basis, and some organizations do it on a daily basis. And the frequency within which you do this is really going to be dependent on your capacity. All right, so if you don't have the capacity to actually engage every day, you got to figure out where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. But it is important that you engage, as frequently as possible. So in this example from moresales.com, they have a calendar, a daily calendar, and then they looked at how they would actually engage. So those orange squares, everywhere you see an orange square, there's going to be social media engagement. So they made a conscious choice that they're going to engage on social media every day. Now, what those specific topics are, those are going to vary Some organizations like to use a theme for the particular month, you know, um, and it may actually follow, the progress of a program. So, different organizations have different ways of doing it. And then you'll see here they have a downloadable resource. It looks like they perhaps may do a downloadable resource launch once a month. So if you're one of those organizations that deals with a specific topic once a month, it might be a good time to launch your downloadable resource that people can kind of track with you for the whole month. You might want to do that at the beginning. And then when you look at the area in green, these are instances in which they're going to post a blog. So they're posting a new article once a week and then, they would have also been very, very strategic about what these topics are. And again, if you are focusing on a particular theme for the month, it might make sense to make sure that your blog topics are following that theme, but it's most important that your blog topics and whatever you post here is going to provide value to the people that you most want to reach. And then here we've got a newsletter on the 18th. So once a month, they put out a newsletter. And then this is a sales company. So once a month, they want to do a marketing sales email. So for a nonprofit, maybe once a month, you want to do an email that is, reaching out to your stakeholders and include funders in that number. And then section 7 is your calls to action. What is it that you want people to do, right? Do you want them to watch a video? Do you want them to read a blog? Do you want them to read an article or white paper? But once they do that, what's the specific action in that? So if you want a soft call to action, you'll use one of those media. If you want a hard call to action, then you might consider doing a sales funnel kind of thing. So you might have them read a gated white paper, which means in order for them to get access to that white paper, either they have to pay a fee or they have to give you information, such as their contact information, or they have to sign up for a webinar, or they have to qualify at a trade show or event. All right. So, again, your goals and objectives will determine whether you want a soft call to action or hard call to action. Alrighty, so at this point, we're going to open it up for questions. If you have any questions or comments or want to share some of your experiences with content marketing, or if you have a resource that you want to share, please feel free to post that in our comment section. If you are a member of the nonprofit Utopia community and you want to continue this conversation in our online community, feel free to post any comments or questions. If you want to set up an appointment where I can review your content marketing strategy, feel free to set up an appointment. And if you just want to talk about this, feel free to post in in the community. All right. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you so much for attending. And if you have any questions, let me know. Alrighty, so if there are any questions or comments, please feel free to post. All right, so there are no questions, no comments. I want to say thank you so much for those of you who are watching. And, if at some point you have questions or comments, you can always post and I will review them at a later time. All right. You guys take care and thank you.